Are things in Ms. Christensen's world?
Good. I'm hoping one day we can get presentations done before, like 2 minutes before this starts.
Everything always takes longer than you think. Usually more expensive than you think.
Yes, as usual. Yeah. Most house projects are the same way.
Yes.
You hear water running. Do my hair.
Yeah, we got Zoom up.
Yeah, I know what show that was.
Get an echo.
Jim was told in the picture. He's got his shirt on right side. Yeah. That shirt. He's looking for a cut.
Okay.
How
are you doing?
Well,
See you in a minute, Rachel.
I think we're ready.
We got them. They're up here now.
Okay,
Yeah, but they're 16 pages.
Okay, send that maybe to my table. Yeah.
It was there, we just, the file name
Yeah.
didn't say minutes.
Oh.
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 You got it.
All right.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Good evening, everybody. Let's call the meeting to order. Please welcome to the Town of Pendleton's October Planning Commission meeting. I could have a roll call starting to my left, please.
Connie Schultheim, Carol Hannah,
File icon.
Tim Pritchard.
Jenny Sisson.
And
And we have Cheryl Ramey Hunt on
she's
Zoom.
zooming in. We're all present. If I could have the board to review the minutes from the previous meeting. And I entertain a motion and a second to accept.
Well, they're 16 pages
This was
long and I
changes.
just got them.
You just got them.
Can we,
You want to read them all and go to UDO?
Or if you want to table it.
You want to table this next meeting?
yeah, give us a
They
chance.
were really long.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, I'll make a motion to table the September minutes till the November meeting.
I will second that.
Second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Okay, whole business. First item will be the thoroughfare update, please.
Yes. Since our September Plan Commission meeting, we've made some progress on our thoroughfare plan update. We did schedule steering committee meeting number 4 for October 21st, 2020. So all invites have been sent out, and that will be from 6 to 8 p.m. here at Town Hall, and people do have the option to Zoom in for that as well. Of course, if any members of the Plan Commission want to attend, you're always welcome to attend those steering committee meetings. We have collected over 362 the last time I had checked vision survey responses. That was the survey that we put out to the public. It went out through Facebook. I believe it was on our website. It's been spread far and wide for Pendleton, and getting 362 is good for us. We were going to try to shoot to get 500, but getting almost 400 at this point, I think we've done well. Lastly, we did get our street standards update contract all buttoned up and executed with GRW. So we'll be moving forward on that as well, and getting GRW up to speed with council governments on our thoroughfare plan update and make sure everything is coordinated and meshes well together. You guys have any questions for me on the thoroughfare plan update?
Questions? No.
All right. Next on the agenda is the Unified Development Ordinance update. This says August Plan Commission meeting, but it should be progress since the September Plan Commission meeting. We've gotten chapters 1 and 2 over to the planning workshop. I've gotten feedback from Plan Commission members and staff, and we compiled that all together, sent it off to the planning workshop. We are nearly done with our review of chapters 4, 5, 6, and 9. We're just waiting on, we got to compile the rest of our documents up, but everything is in from the steering committee, which is great. Kyle, you've been fantastic on going through those documents and providing some really excellent feedback, so we appreciate that. So those should be sent over within the next 2 weeks. And then we are hoping to have the documents start with the adoption process in December. You know, I know I've talked about this, and every meeting I come to, I'm like, I'm so sorry, guys. This really turned into a back burner project for us over the last year, I guess, or 6 months. And it's been tough for planning staff to get caught up again. I feel like we're being very reactive to projects instead of being proactive like we usually were. So I appreciate your patience with us on this project. We do have a couple of steering committee meetings left for the Unified Development Ordinance update. So we're looking forward to getting those scheduled and wrapped up. You guys have any questions for me on the Unified Development Ordinance update?
No. Good. You want any more comments we're going to see, or?
No.
Okay. Is this a good time for me to ask to speak?
Yes, if it relates to, because you're a member of our steering committee.
I've been on the steering committee for well over a year.
Yeah.
Can I
Sure.
speak?
Approach the podium, please. State your name and your address, please.
Thank you. I'm 6 feet away, so can I leave this down? Okay. My name's Marcy DeShawn. I do not live within city limits. I have 2 businesses, Midwest Remodeling, that's out on State Road 9, that is in city limits, and Bronze Bay Tanning, which is also in city limits. So I come kind of with that hat on, but I also am a member of the Madison County Builders Association and a member of the board of the Indiana Builders Association. I also come as someone who was invited to serve on the Unified Development Ordinance Steering Committee, which has been meeting for well over a year and going through everything. And I have some concerns that I just felt, I'm really nervous. I felt very strongly about expressing these concerns. You're doing great. Okay. I just came from a funeral too, so that just makes y'all emotionally worse anyway. So the existing ordinances we all know are outdated, and that's why the steering committee was formed. And I have really enjoyed serving on it. Because really what we have now with outdated ordinances, it causes developers to have to come to the planning commission basically for a variance just on about every development. And most municipalities don't function that way. They function with an ordinance, and only whatever that doesn't fit within those do they have to come to variance meetings. Unfortunately, because of this, it's had a potential to lead to subjective and adversarial comments, such as if your development has vinyl siding, don't even bring it. And other comments like, why can't all the houses be $400,000? It also has the possibility to bring lawsuits against our community at a time when we really don't need them. We've all been through a lot the last 2 years, and we don't need that. So I'd like to talk about architectural design standards as part of the ordinance. A lot of you may not understand that this is a big deal nationally, where municipalities are starting to want to have architectural design standards. Now, what is that? It's when it has nothing to do with safety. Like every developer has to develop homes and has to develop communities and has to build houses that are safe, that fit within Indiana's standards and the county standards and the town standards. So it has nothing to do with safety. So there's things like material types. Some communities are like no vinyl, no aluminum. We don't want any metal roofs. You have to have at least a 6-pitch roof, or we don't want you. You have to have, you know, 4 different roof elevations on the front of your house. You have to have the garage facing this way. You have to have the garage facing that way. You can only have this type fence. You can only have this type porch. You must have a porch. Your front door must face the front. Your front door can't face the front. These are all architectural design standards, nothing to do with safety. So, you know, why? Why do we have to have those? Why are communities? Because honestly, developers usually have decided that stuff. They have experts. They have experts in design. They have experts in the market and what the market wants and what the market's demanding. And municipalities don't typically have those experts. So why? Doing these architectural design standards raise the cost of homes, and this is a big concern for me. Pendleton's already, I met with several realtors, Pendleton's already outpriced, you know, my grandkids. My granddaughter's 18 in the Army. When she comes home, can she afford a house in Pendleton? Doubt it. If it is, it's a way fixer-upper, and grandma's going to have to help a lot, and that's okay. But when we start looking at these developers, are we outpricing our grandkids? Are we outpricing our elderly folks where they have to leave this community? Because we've heard that. We've heard that on the steering committee. We had somebody sitting on the steering committee. And it might have even been you, Carol. Did you sit on that? I don't know. Somebody was talking about their friends. All their friends were having to move out of our community because there was not affordable living here. So design standards, they take away the choices for low maintenance. You know, a lot of people like vinyl siding. They're like, yeah, it's going to last 10, 15 years, and then I'm going to replace it anyway because it's going to look ugly by then. A lot of people want affordable options. And I just feel like the town, in particular, when developers come here, I feel like we've become adversarial with them. You know, they're our partners. They should be our partners. Pendleton should be not only family friendly, but business friendly. Where developers want to come in here and they're going to sink in dollars and they're going to help us build our infrastructure, but we shouldn't be adversaries. We should be able to work with them and say, you know, we don't want a flat-faced, full siding, you know, even though you can find tons of them in Pendleton and they're adorable, not necessarily flat, but full-sided houses. It just puts the town at risk for suits too. I have done a lot of research on this, and you know, there's just suits being filed against municipalities that are doing this. Is that the way we want to be? Do we want to be discriminatory so that we have these classes, and if you're the lower middle class, you can't afford to live here? You know, we all know down south, down the road just a bit, that they're doing that. Is that what we want for Pendleton? My husband's family's been here since 1945, and we've always been inclusive, not exclusive. And it just bothers me to my core that we're going to take this path of architectural design standards. And I didn't spend the last year and a half on the steering committee, and we voted on this stuff, and we all discussed it. And it just bothers me that this tone has come out of this commission. So I've said my piece. I love this town. I love this community. And I just hope you'll all think about it. If you want a link to some research that I've done to read more about it, especially in regards to municipalities getting sued and states starting to pass laws where you cannot do architectural design standards. Be happy to share this with you. Thank you.
Hey, Marcy.
Yes.
Can you email me that link and I
Yes,
share it
happy
with
to.
you? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I'm sure they'll be reviewed through UDO committee. Probably enough said on that. Item C.
The next one is
TC,
MI Homes.
yeah, MI Homes, 20-02.
No microphone, so I'm going to tilt that up. My name is Mike Austin. I'm the attorney for MI Homes. I was here last month, as you may recall. And with me again tonight are John Isaacs and Tim Westerfield from MI Homes. John has a presentation he would like to make for the commission. And where we are this evening, we're not seeking a vote tonight. There's been a lot of things going on kind of behind the scenes where we're trying to gain information. There's been information from NDOT, from the Madison County Council of Governments. There's been meetings with settlement officials. So what we're trying to do at this stage of this process is just to work with the town, make sure we understand what the town wants from this development. So basically, we're in the gathering information stage and trying to maybe chart a new direction here a little bit on this project. So our purpose here tonight is not to present this for a vote, but again, to formally seek a continuance, but to provide information about what we're doing, where we're heading, with the hope that at next meeting in November, we could actually bring this matter before the commission for a vote. So thank you. Now I'll introduce John Isaacs.
Thank you. Jonathan Isaacs, MI Homes. I'm a land acquisition manager again. Tim Westerfield is with me tonight as well. And we've had a lot of feedback over the last month. We had some feedback from the commission itself, and we had a vote that was a 3-3 tie for support. We had a vote that was 2-5 to continue, and then I asked for a continuance. One of the questions that we have is what is it that was mixed in that vote? And I think there was some discussion about is this a residential piece of property? Is this a commercial piece of property? And that may be where we're split on this. So I want to spend a little bit of time on that, and then just kind of bring you up to speed on some other things. We've had a meeting with NDOT and received support from NDOT on the location of the driveway location. We also have received commentary that was sent to the town from MPOG that suggests that there should not be any road cut to State Road 9 in other than to Candlewood as an extension drive or to County Road 600 to our north. We go forward a slide. So there's the location map in relationship to Pendleton and to downtown along State Road 9. This site, when we first looked at this site, it was very exciting to us, overlooking Falls Park, good access and great visibility along State Road 9. And it also, has the ability to connect to the park, via pedestrian way, which then can get you all the way back into downtown through Falls Park, underneath the railroad track viaduct, through, right through town and past the waterfalls in Falls Park and then right to downtown. So it's really a great location from that perspective. And we feel that we have a great product to place there with two different types of housing types, single family and duplex, our paired villas. And we go forward one. So now I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. And when you start to really look at the site itself, the site has a lot of topography to it. There's a big drainage draw right through the middle, which part of that probably could be classified as water to the US. There's a wetland in it. And then there's two smaller drainage draws on north and south of that. And when we start looking at this site, now from the road, from State Road 9, it looks like a flat piece of property. There is 25 feet of fall from about the midpoint of that property all the way back to the to Falls Park property, essentially the property line, which is consistent with maybe the elevation of the parking lot by the football fields. So when you start to look at that, when we started to lay out that subdivision with the street patterns and things like that, we thought you come into this middle drainage draw right off of State Road 9, looking down that, kind of that natural area, and it's a natural separation of the project. But as we look further, some of the, so we plan the roads along the ridges. So that's you try to work with the land that's given to you. In central Indiana, we're not always blessed with ground that has some topography to it. Sometimes our first inclination is just bulldoze it flat and start over. But we really kind of looked at it as a standpoint of we can utilize the land plan and put the roads in the right places and create the roads on the ridges. You might have some opportunities from walkout basements that overlook the park, and really kind of have an opportunity to let kind of the park draw itself into the natural area of our design and vice versa, and try to fit it within the landscape. So that's why we really believe this is an opportunity for for a residential piece. And as you drive out from Huntsville Road, you kind of feel like Huntsville area has that little feel of a small old town area. But by the time you get to this property line, you got large estate lots across the street that are single family. You have this piece here. So really there's kind of a line of demarcation that the commercial area kind of stops, just past Huntsville Road. In fact, some of the structures you see within the Huntsville area are really residential, with a few commercial properties intermingled in that area. So we really believe that bringing residential to this site, let that be part of connectivity to the park, proximity to downtown, really kind of encourages that, enhances the ability for people to utilize downtown. It's a far walk, but it's walking distance to downtown, or a bike ride or whatever. So if you go forward one. So this is an aerial photograph. I've now just turned it sideways, so north is to the right, because the next drawing, which has the site plan on it, is going to be in this same orientation. But you kind of see where the ridges are located on that site, with the trees right through the middle, and kind of those green areas that are in the farm field. Those are kind of the high spots, I guess they're the low spots, but where the water drains down to. And then you do have an area that maybe was attempted at one time to be bulldozed, almost like for a road that would go towards the park, and obviously never finished. And it's just an erosion feature is really what it looks like. It's a dry creek bed, for the lack of a better term. My environmental guys call that an erosion feature. It's not a stream, but an erosion feature. So, and then you got a floodplain off to the northwest of the site, where that tree line is on the northwest corner of the property, gets down into the floodplain. So we go forward. So the way that we initially thought this one through was Terry Villas to the south side of the site, and a single family to the north side of the site. And kind of that main entrance coming in is kind of like the separator. We're kind of rethinking that a little bit, and talking with staff, it seems like it probably makes more sense to utilize the product from State Road 9, being more of the duplexes and the single family that would overlook the park. So this drawing does not represent that yet, but that's something that we're having our engineers take a look at. What it also will do is it'll let us take advantage of that cul-de-sac at that north end, or the south end, southwest side of the site, to be able to enhance, whatever topography we have there. The single families will allow us to step down the hill towards the park, where the paired villa is a much larger structure, a little more regimented, to be able to kind of step down with the roadway. And then there's the black line on the south side, on the left side of the drawing, that the desire of staff in the town has been some kind of road connection, extension of a road from State Road 9 and somewhat right across the street is Candlewood. There's probably 20 to 25 feet of right of way to the south that may need to be acquired in order to truly line that street up. Although in the meantime, we probably can talk about how maybe that road can be done in a stage, maybe half of it or 3/4 of it, and maybe the other balance gets developed with the commercial piece to the south side of the site, which is where the right of way has to come from. So those are discussions that we are having, and the traffic engineers have given us their opinion, MPOG has given us their opinion, staff has given us their opinion, and we got to come to terms with, do we eliminate the road cut to State Road 9? Do we focus our attention on Candlewood and extending Candlewood? And how does that look? What does that look like? How does the town perceive that to look like? Does that work for a residential development, sharing it with a park entrance and a potential commercial development on the south side, in the future? So that's where I would say partnership is a great word that I heard a little while ago. This is one of those opportunities that maybe there's some common good to be had. A project of this size doesn't necessarily have a lot of money to do an offsite improvement, but there's maybe an opportunity to get something started that gets us in the right direction to what the town desires, to have a road that gets you from State Road 9 back to the park. So one of the things is we're taking a look at what that design might look like and what that cost looks like to do. So that's one of the reasons why we decided to pause. I also believe that your next Plan Commission meeting would be before the next council meeting that we could get to anyway. So trying to rush something through tonight with not all the answers and get to the same November town council meeting kind of seems like to me I'd waste a month not getting answers if I tried to push us forward tonight. So that's kind of where I'm at from that perspective. So we've already started to look at a layout that would not have that road connection to State Road 9 to see what that looks like. I've hired a traffic consultant. I now have a fairly decent idea what road improvements would need to be required at Candlewood versus having two intersections, one at Candlewood and one in the mid-block of our development, based on the generation and where we believe traffic would be drawn to either north or south on State Road 9. So I have that opinion that's coming from my traffic engineer as well. So that's another piece of information to be shared as part of this process. We can go forward. I also provided some pictures of the product that we have in other communities. Unfortunately, it was garbage day when I went there, so garbage cans are out there.
Always is.
I tried to eliminate as many of them as I could. So I give you kind of what the fronts of our villa product looks like. I encourage you to drive up to Cicero in Hamilton County, walk the product. It lives very well. for an attack product. And then the next picture that I have in there is what the rears of those structures look like. And one of the things that I think we'll be able to discuss is what is our frontage along State Road 9 going to look like? If it's going to be the backs of homes. And you'll notice that all of the structures have an integrated covered porch. All of the buyers have an opportunity to do a full extension of that covered porch. When they do that, they end up with a reverse gable on the back of the structure. There's also opportunities for them to do breakfast nooks, breakfast bays, and other things that change the character of that. And what we do is we try to give the customer as much choice that by giving them that choice of what they want, what their desires are, there's enough so that the rears of those homes are not structured. We do not dictate to anybody what the backs of those look like. And you see 3 out of the 4 units in the picture elected to have a room extension or a covered porch extension that gives you a little bit of variety into the house. And we did that with the customer choosing that and not us being, dictating, to it. But what we would do is suggest that the rears of those homes, whether it's a percentage of them or maybe it's all of them, but we give them a pick list of things that they would, desire to have, that we would end up with some kind of rear look from the street that would give you a roof line change. And then we would have a 30-foot buffer yard outside of the right of way with a mound and landscaping. And I've got an artist rendition of what that could look like later. And then let's go for one more. And these are the single family residences. Just a random sample. There's 9 different floor plans that we would do in our single family. There's between 4 and 5 front elevations that each floor plan has. So there's a lot of variety for the customer to choose. Front porches, no front porches, reverse gables, multiple gables, various architectural styles, farmhouse style, craftsman style that you see. And then those all come with kind of designed by the architect appearances that, whether it's masonry or brick, or it's the different types of siding texture that you can have, shake siding or backboard siding or just horizontal siding. Those are all, choices that the customer has. If we go forward one more, just a couple more. There's 2 ranches and a single family home in there. And we'll be able to present these to you next month, a little earlier in the process. And we'll go forward one more. Go one more. The other thing that we do that you see this typically more in the custom builders, but we use a zip board system on our all of our product lines. What the zip board is it's a kind of a water resistant plywood. So it has a water resistant front to it with kind of a plywood backing. So it's structural. And then there is no house wrap required. They just have to tape the seams. So during construction, wind blows, you're not having paper flying all over the place. The one place where the framers still like to use the house wrap is on the floor plates between the first and the second floor. And that's why you see that white house wrap above that. They don't need to do that, but for whatever reason, framers like to use it. They feel more comfortable with it. Then if we go one more forward, again, that's just the site plan, and highlight the green on the very bottom. That's the 30-foot buffer strip outside of the state highway property. There's opportunities to do sidewalks in that right away if the town so desires. There's for the agreement with NDOT. But outside the right of way, we can do mounding. The sewer's on the other side of the road. Water's in the right of way, today. So we're not going to really have any utility issues to deal with. So if we go forward, landscaping again, that one.
You want me to skip this one?
No, well, no, there's a slide missing there.
Oh, okay.
It might be in the PowerPoint, but not in the PDF.
Oh, I apologize.
But it's all right. I thought they were both the same. So anyway, what we started to do was we started to make a list of items for discussion that whether or not it's some things that, we look at what Derek Glenn got approved with in conversations that we've had with staff on things that they've seen, 18-foot driveways that you guys would like to see, a trim around windows, need to bring out windows. Fences, we typically restrict fencing within our neighborhoods from our HOA. So I wouldn't commit to a style of fence with you, but I will commit that they're all going to be the same. We typically say 4 feet, with the exception of the duplex units. The separation between their patios, they get an 8-foot fence section to create a buffer between the two patios and give them a little bit of security or privacy. And then if we go one more, and then we got site plan issues that we can talk about, which is, we need to look into the elimination of the direct access to State Road 9, which I just make a note there, NDOT has approved the concept. Staff has suggested that we look at alternative to what we have shown. I have an engineer that felt that it could work, but we'll continue to work with staff on that one. Some type of 8-foot path that we would connect from our neighborhood into the park. We've met with the parks director. There's not really a plan for the park yet. So I have a hard time saying, hey, we're going to put it here when we don't know ultimately what do we want to connect it to. But we'll make a commitment that we'll work with the town as we go forward in the project to get a path where it's desirable for everybody. Parking on one side of the street, I'm guessing that's based on the width of the street, 30-foot back to back. It's questionable whether or not you can get parking on both sides and still have driveways, driving lanes. So we'll work with you on that. One thing that I will say is I do not want our homeowners association to be responsible for policing the one side parking. We don't have a problem agreeing that the town wants to have a standard, wants to adopt an ordinance, have us put the signs up, but the police need to be able to enforce it. That's a nightmare for our homeowners association to enforce parking on a public street. Street trees evidently are desirable as well. So I pulled, some of these are almost verbatim out of Derek Glenn's plat approval. So with that, I'd love to hear a little direction from you on, are we barking up the right tree? Is this a residential piece of property that we continue to work on? And hopefully come back next month with a lot more answers and ability to move this one along.
I got a couple of staff comments I want to make before you guys chime in.
Yeah, Rachel.
Okay. Thanks, Jonathan. We had a really good discussion this week with MI Homes and staff. I appreciated them coming up, and we talked out some of our issues. I think one of the goals of this is to hash out all of these commitments for the rezone before we get to the primary plat, so our primary plat process can be smooth and we don't have to go back and revisit any type of commitment type things. So let's keep that in mind as we're moving forward on this. Jonathan kind of touched on the topography of the site, and the topography of the site really does lend the site well to residential. I think that's one of the things we want to keep in Pendleton. We do have some unique areas that have that topography, and we should try to capture that and take advantage of that in the areas that we can. And this is one of those sites where we really could. And From my planning perspective, I think it would be a shame to see that site bulldozed and flattened out for commercial, because a lot of commercial developments want to have those flat parking lots. So that's something to keep in mind as we move forward with this too. I appreciate Jonathan said that they're going to be working on a cost estimate for that road extension, just so we can really do a better job of negotiating between the town and this. The road extension piece wouldn't necessarily be part of something that you guys work on, but our town manager would be working through that process with MI Homes. So we'll have that next month to kind of look at what that cost is, how the town can partner with MI Homes on getting that road built out the way we envision it. So we'll, again, like Jonathan said, we'll have more information for you as we move forward through the process. I really like the idea of moving those villas closer to the State Road 67 corridor rather than having the single family homes that backed up against the 67 corridor. Thinking about kids playing in the backyard with those with the villas, you're going to have less children in that type of product, and let's put the kids and the families on the side where it's overlooking the park. Those kids can run out their backyard right into the park, and that's a much better fit for this site. The paired villas, we know Mustin is selling like hotcakes out there. They built all through the recession. They're on their phase 3 right now. It's a great product, and that is a product that a lot of our Pendleton residents are looking to buy. There's no better place right now to build some more products like that than this site. We're just a skip down from Pendle Point. Has great access to the interstate too. So I thought that was a good thing that we talked about today. When Kayla and I did go over to Cicero to visit their development over there, the backyards, on the paired villas, there were those little nooks that you could see in the images that Jonathan provided today. And it really gave a lot more privacy for those backyards on the villas, maybe than what the Mustin product does. It was a little bit different. It was a little more, like I said, private, which I thought was a nice touch for that product. And of course, like he touched on too, those gables that were in the back, I think driving down 67, seeing, something that has a little bit more architectural character would be a good thing for our community too, instead of seeing a flat, back of a home. I do think we all need to keep in mind too, as we move forward through this one in particular, that this is a smaller development than the two that we've had in the past. So that is going to have a difference on how we treat this one a little bit, because it isn't as big as Carrot Line. It's not as big as the Hunsinger development that we worked through. So it has some unique things about this property and the products that we're going to be selling. So anyway, those were just some of my thoughts that I wanted to throw out before you guys had your
I got a comment, Rachel, before you go. Kayla, could you go back to maybe their first 1 or 2 slides? It's the one that actually showed the new proposed road through the erosion zone. Erosion features. That's erosion features.
Like slide 4 or 5.
Keep going. Right there. Maybe one more.
Next one, about 4 or 5 more.
I've got a little concern. I think moving the road down there from your entrance is a good idea instead of in the center. But extending that road down at the park, I'm really worried we're going to train people to come out of that distance and go through the park. And I'm not sure we want all that traffic going through our Little League Park and on Huntsville Road and going through the park.
I'll speak to that.
I guess, do we want to stop it where it is currently on the drawing, the road?
My staff recommendation on this has been something that was planned out in the original development for the base sports complex, was to have another entrance off of State Road 67. I think the way that we treat traffic, we'll have to be mindful of that moving forward on, do we want a gate at the park so that can't happen? Or is that not something we want? I'm not sure. But I do know that this was planned in the early 2000s. That it's why that parcel is designed, or the parcel was laid out the way it was laid
And I'm
out.
sure that's why that cut was made through.
Yeah. So, and I think that this also goes along with our Park and Recreation Master Plan that's been updated.
If you go
So
back,
that-
maybe one more, maybe slide one or two, you had an aerial, one more. There. Well, that road's gonna come in, is back in the football diamonds, back into there. Those people are gonna have to come all the way back through baseball diamonds, through the parking lot, back down Snow Road.
Alternatively, this is our only opportunity to have
I'm not
another entrance.
arguing, I'm just
Yeah,
cautiously,
right. No, I agree. I mean, there are things we will have to think through on how we handle this with the park.
Yeah.
However,
it's a one-way street or something. As busy as 67 is currently, it's gonna be like every cast, they're gonna go that way. In my opinion.
Google Maps.
With Google Maps sends them.
But I can have
Sure.
one more.
I just want that comment made tonight because you guys can address that.
Yeah.
In a month.
And that is a concern that we have.
So,
If that becomes our only entrance for the neighborhood, and the park is busy every Saturday morning, you have 138, 140 residents that are going to be honked off that they can't get out of their addition.
Yep.
And we, it's one of the reasons why we really feel the connection to State Road 9 is important, especially
In the
if
center.
that road is going to go
in the center connection.
Yes. Because combining those together it is going to be an inconvenience for those residents. Now, if it's very restricted, then that's a different story. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I have experience in another community where we had a park that had a road that went through part of it, and it was in Fishers. It's right off of I-69. It's their football park, and those residents complained every weekend because people were speeding down their driveway,
Sure.
down that roadway.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Any comments from the board? Questions? Okay.
you'll just need to make a
We
motion.
just need to make a motion. I'll make a motion to continue MI Homes 2020. That's the old name.
City and old business.
There we go, 2020-02 for MI Homes. Motion to continue as requested till the November meeting, please.
I'll make that motion.
Second. You have a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor of moving the 2020-2 to the November Planning Commission, please say aye.
We have to do a roll call.
Any roll call vote?
Connie Schultz, aye.
Aye.
Carol Hannah.
Aye.
Kyle Eichhorn.
Aye.
Tim Pritchard.
Aye.
Jenny Sisson.
Aye.
Cheryl Ramey Hunt.
Aye.
Didn't need her to
Do it again, Cheryl. We didn't hear you.
Thumbs up.
I know. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for helping.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you next month.
Yep, thank you. Okay,
Thanks,
new business. First item on new business is PC's one. Good crowd. There's 30 seconds. Good tickets.
Yes.
Okay. Under new business, item A is PC 10072-020-01. Jamal Zafar Revocable Trust. A replat of property located 6108 West Foster's Bench Drive. Find 3 lots.
Alright, so this is a petition to, as Tim said, combine 3 lots that are under common ownership of Jamila Zafar, revocable trust. It would make the current lot size just over 2 acres. There is a residence on lot 7 currently. You can see on this site plan that there are no easements on the side lot lines. The easements that are shown include tree preservation easement along the rear of lot 7, as well as utility easement along the right of way. Representing the petition tonight, the owner, Jamila Zafar, is available, as well as Keith Van Leon, the surveyor. If you have any questions, but this is a pretty cut and dry replat. We're taking 3 lots down to 1. The size is only increasing. There are no utility concerns. So my staff recommendation tonight is to approve the replat as presented, and I recommend that it be approved for recording.
Okay. What's the purpose of the replat?
I'd actually like to turn that one over to the owner, if that'd be okay.
Hello. Wanted to make it all one property.
Jamila,
Can you hear me?
yeah, we're just getting some feedback.
Can you hear me okay? I can't hear you. Now I can.
Go, Jamila, I'm sorry. Kyle Eichhorn was asking the purpose of the replat.
Okay, well, I own all 3 lots, so why not make it all one? And we may actually build a separate structure in a few years down the line, which would actually be part of our residence to put cars or something like that. So that's basically it.
Jamila said that she owns all 3 parcels, and then she may want to build onto her home in the future and extend into this area.
I have a question. Some HOAs don't allow for that, and I know you don't govern their HOA, so is this something that is allowable? Some HOAs don't allow for combination of lots.
Could you go to the next slide? Oh, nope, go back. This is a aerial image of Foster Branch Woods in the area where this plot exists. We've actually seen this particular instance happen pretty frequently. I think there are 3 or 4 instances of replats or building on additional lots out in this area. So I believe at this point the HOA has found it suitable to do so. You'll see the lot on the opposite side of Foster Branch Court actually has done the same thing and combined lots 2 and 3. There are a couple other examples of replats that occurred prior to annexation as well.
I have one more question. All right, so on the south side of lot 7 there where it says 15-foot drainage, I'm assuming C2 with the length of 272.38 goes all the way across the frontage of both lots. Is that correct?
Keith, did you hear the question?
I don't, can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't have the plat in front of me, so I have no idea, Mr. Eichhorn. if there's a mathematical or a typographical error, I can check that in the morning if you want to send me a text.
Sure.
Question two, I guess as far as sidewalks, I don't know, it looks like lot 5 and 6 does not have any sidewalk right now. Does that mean it never will?
Actually, those powers have just put in sidewalks out there. Okay. That is in the process of getting done right now.
Was this something that letters had to go out to neighbors, letters went to the HOA, everything's been done in a timely manner?
Yes.
And did we get any response back from any neighbors?
I did not, as staff. Jamila, did you get any response from any of your neighbors?
No, nobody said anything to me. We did notify some neighbors we were doing it beforehand, and everything was very positive. Because as you mentioned before, this has happened quite a few times already.
What did she say?
Sorry, she said she did talk to some of her neighbors even before the notices went out, and it was well received. Very positive.
Is anybody here in the audience to speak to this petition on this subject?
Yes, as you know, I represent Hilton LLC and Franklin Urbans, which is within the legal circle of notices, and my clients did not get notices changed. So you probably need to take care of that before this matter goes forward.
You didn't get notice on the owner of the property that get notice that you represent?
Pardon me?
Who didn't get notice?
Pendleton Development LLC and Franklin Urbans. They're within the range that the law requires to be given notice of a change.
Well, I apologize. I got the list from the Madison County office, and they were not on the list. Is it 300 feet or 150 feet away?
For replat, Kayla, do you know if it's 150 or 300?
I think we're within statutory limits, so you might double check that.
All right, we'll double check that.
Yeah, I can send you the list that I got from Brenda from Madison County, which...
and we do have that list, Jamila, that you had submitted to us with your application. That was part of your application process. So we will double check the list and see, and we'll measure and everything too.
And does your client have any objection to this particular project?
I don't know, because I think you said you got your agenda last night. You haven't had the opportunity to
Okay.
talk to them.
So then we table the next month, check on the notices.
Yes, we should.
Okay. All right. Thank you. With that note, I'll make a motion to table 2020-1 based on review notifications sent to the surrounding property owners. Second.
Second.
Second. Thank you. Need a roll call vote.
Connie Schultz Hines.
Aye.
Carol Hanna.
Aye.
Kyle Eichhorn.
Aye.
Tim Pritchard.
Aye.
Jenny Sisson.
Aye.
Cheryl Ramey Hunt. She gives a thumbs up. All right, thanks, Cheryl. Jamila, we'll check on that stuff and we'll be in touch with you tomorrow, okay?
Okay, thank you.
I do have can I ask a question?
Yes.
If she did send the proper notices, is she going to be required to wait till the next meeting to get this finalized?
Special meeting.
Yes, unless we schedule a special meeting.
Oh,
so
The commission could, Keith brings up a good point. The commission could, upon review of the notice that was sent out, if statute was complied with, it could vote to approve or take action on it.
Right,
And if it turns out it's not, then the table would stand, but you could pass a contingent on that.
I agree.
Yeah, I should have thought of that. Thanks, Keith.
Table as a,
Thank you, Ken.
So this would be contingent upon confirmation that Jamila sent out statutory or proper statutory notice. But it turns out that's not the case. Then we may have to do some renoticing.
All right. Based on those comments, I'll make a motion that we approve 2020-101. Notifications. If they were in compliance, then approval will stand. If it is not approval as far as the notice being sent, then I mean, on the November agenda.
Let's please communicate with Lynn so she's, as soon as we know.
we will.
So, with that said, I'll entertain a motion to approve as those contingencies. Ask for a second.
A second.
Thank you, Jen. Hearing a motion, a second to approve based on review of the contingencies on the mailing notifications. We have a roll call vote. Rachel, please.
Yes, Connie Schultz-Heinz.
Aye.
Carol Hanna.
Aye.
Kyle Eichhorn.
Aye.
Tim Pritchard.
Aye.
Jenny Sisson.
Aye.
Cheryl Ramey Hunt. Thumbs up.
The stand is tentatively approved, so we get notification review of the mailings.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Jamila, like we said, we'll be in touch with you tomorrow to get this figured out, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Keith.
Thank you.
Item B, DC 10072 0202-2 Landworks Engineering, Don Hughes and Sons LLC.
What we have tonight is a partial site development plan review. This property located at 3104
Correct.
West US 36, commonly known as Fall Creek Corners, is in the planned business zoning district, meaning that changes to this site requiring building permits, if there are major changes, require this board to review them. So what brought about this change? A coffee shop called Big B Coffee has rented the space in the on the right-hand side or end of the building, or that's the east end of the building. It is their desire to have a drive-up window. As you guys know, the current drive around this building is a gravel drive. It's not really conducive to drive-through traffic. There's not really anywhere for it to go. So what Landworks has brought to us and presented as part of this petition is a redevelopment of the drive into the property, including a drive-through around that side of the building that would then serve Big B Coffee. This is part of a larger redevelopment plan. However, the parts and pieces are still moving. So there will be, you'll see some stub outs and drives, and those will be future and come back to this board as petitions are brought forward to us as far as development of those outlots go. We've included several photographs of the property to show you current conditions out there. It started off as a pretty simple pole barn structure in 1988 and has morphed into a shopping center with 7 suites. Mr. Hughes, actually Don Hughes and his son Steve Hughes, Don Hughes has passed away, as you guys know. They have made improvements to the site over the years, and Steve Hughes is making improvements now as he goes along. So here's a photograph of the end of the unit where the drive up would go alongside Big B Coffee. So you can see how it currently looks. On that side of the building, it's just metal siding. Building permit for the remodel of the interior was issued with the condition that a drive-through window not be installed until this board approved a traffic pattern that they were comfortable with. So I'm actually I'm going to turn over description of the site to Ben Hooley, who to represent Landworks Engineering on behalf of the owner. As soon as I just go over quickly my staff recommendations, which are to approve in limited scope with the following conditions. The connection to South 300 West will not be made at this time. It will stub out until more is known about the user of the east outlet and what that lot looks like, which we do expect to see soon. A landscape plan pertaining to altered areas of the site shall be received and approved by staff before a permit is issued with 4 parking lot improvements. Sign plan need to be received with revised plan. Existing signs by State Road 67 are in very poor condition. Dumpster enclosures in compliance with the plan business design guidelines will be part of this project. And the drive-through window for that east end unit must carry the brick wrap around the side of the building and shall not be used until the parking lot is improved as shown in these plans. So Ben, do you want to come up and describe the changes that will be made?
You have the aerial one?
Yes.
Which, this one?
The one that you turned into a JPEG.
Oh.
Good evening, my name is Ben Hool.
There it
I'm with Landworks Engineering and here representing today B. Hughes & Sons for this proposal that you see in front of you. So to make it a little clearer for everybody of what's existing and then a little bit of what's proposed, this is has an aerial behind it of our engineering plan. So what you see there existing now, you come in from State Road 36 from the south, and there's an immediate kind of jog over that carries you into the parking lot. That's due to a reconfiguration of that drive probably about 12 years ago when they did improvements on State Road 36 and had that drive line up with the one right directly across the street to the south. So in order to improve that a little bit, what we're taking a look at is tying into that drive right after you come in from 36, and that would go straight north through the site. And then there would be a stub out to your right on this plan that would go to a future outlot. And then there would be a drive to the left where you would turn into the existing parking lot there today. When you took that drive to the left, you could make a right turn and go into a separate lane that will be the drive-through lane. That lane we've sized large enough to be able to feel comfortable pulling through it, but also to have enough room and space if there was an emergency to pull around the car in front. And that would then allow those cars to come through to the back of the building, wrap around to make a U-turn and come back out onto State Road 36 to leave. You can see there's a stub that ends up going to the east there over to County Road 300, and that will not be included in what you approve tonight. We've discussed that, and we've agreed with staff to essentially put that portion of it off until such time as we have a little bit better idea of what's going to happen with the outlot there on the southeast corner. And that's pretty much it. You can see there's a gravel drive around the backside. We're going to improve that with asphalt as well, and a little bit of concrete to be able to make it more accessible for deliveries. And we're putting a dumpster enclosure back there as well. There is not one today. There's just dumpsters there pretty much adjacent to the house to the north. So making those improvements, a couple of drainage improvements as well to help out with it is our intent there. And then they will do a tack coat and a restripe of the existing parking lot, but no substantial work on that. This is all in an effort to improve and release some of the empty spaces that are there, make it more suitable for the a little bit better, a little bit bigger user. Was triggered by the Big B Coffee for sure, but hopefully to make it a better center overall as well.
In the future, they intend on making this a little bit more of an integrated center and potentially, again, having an outlet kind of on the southeast corner and potentially on the southwest corner as well. And we'll be back in front of you probably with Keith in a few months to talk about a plat to subdivide those parcels out and what those might look like.
At that time, you address your drainage improvements at the front entrance there on the south side.
Yes.
What do you have planned there now, or are you going to wait till the two outlaws are developed?
For that one, we would do that now to improve the drainage condition of what's out there. I don't know if you guys have ever been out there after rain, but it's not too pretty. So to improve that area of what's out there today, we would put that drainage improvement in now. The only outfall for the entire site is on the southwest corner and ends up going across 67, underneath 67. It's very shallow, but the water can get there. So
it's on the south side of the road.
Correct.
Right.
Yep. So that's what we would do for the drainage improvements. That would be along with this plan as well.
All right, thank you.
Okay. I'm free for any more questions.
So just so I understand, is G where the window is going to be then?
Yeah, the window is approximately halfway back on the building on that east-facing side.
So is 36 limited access on this corner parcel? I see it's denoted where the drive used to be. They have an access point. Is that ever corrected when the entrance was moved? Or is something we can correct with the plat?
It could be something we can correct.
I assume there won't be any other access points off this 36.
No, there's no intention of that, even with the eventual improvement.
And you know, the traffic, this is why we discussed, you know, not putting that drive on the 300 West yet either. You know, 300 West is a county road that's not been improved. So depending on what goes in on that site in the future, we may need to do improvements on that road. So that's why we wanted to kind of hold off on that drive, and we were glad the petitioner agreed. So
I mean, that's a good flow.
absolutely.
And anytime you have more than one access, I'm not a proponent of only one in and one out.
Yeah.
That's,
yeah.
You know, the standards aren't medical emergencies.
Yeah. But keep in mind, we are very, I'd say, certain that we're going to be having another petitioner or another petition come in regards to this property that we can then address that drive at that point. And I think it would be a more appropriate time to address that drive.
So the northern basin that you're showing, is that part of now or later?
That will be part of later, and that will be that will go in with that drive essentially. We'll probably do some small improvements to that area just to give the water some place to go. That currently pools both on this property and to the properties to the north. And then we would do a much more comprehensive plan to take care of that and detention when that southeastern property.
Is there a gas line across the property up there?
There's gas, there's water, and there's electrical that are all at some point or another along that northern line.
Do you have any concerns with the staff recommendations?
I don't. We discussed them at length, and I agree.
Thanks, Ben.
Any comments or questions from the audience pertaining to this? Cheryl, okay?
Cheryl, no questions.
Very well. Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we approve PC 1007 2020-02, including the staff recommendations as noted.
Not necessary.
Okay, I have a motion to accept 2020-2 language. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tim. Can I roll, please?
Connie Schultz-Heinz.
Aye.
Carol Hanna.
Aye.
Kyle Eichhorn.
Aye.
Tim Pritchard.
Aye.
Jenny Sisson. Cheryl Ramey Hunt. She gives a thumbs up.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. And Betsy, I don't know if you want to stay, but you are more than welcome to leave if you want to. Same thing with council governments, guys. Or anyone else who's not here for these.
Okay, I'd see. Last but always, at least, not last but least, I don't know about that. You're always last. D.R. Horton Homes, secondary plat for sections 3A and 3B.
All right. These are the final two phases of the current plan.
Like in the past.
Woo.
Wow. So builds out the rest of these, breaks it into two phases, 3A being to the north and 3B to the south. I went over at length revisions, mostly of a technical nature, with Keith Gilson. He responded, no big issues. In addition, D.R. Horton and Stubbleworth have been working with Banning Engineering. They have responded and taken care of all the drainage comments. So we did get a positive reply from Banning stating that they approved the drainage there. Really, this is as we expected it to look from the first time we looked at this overall plat. So I'm going to turn over any additional questions to the Credit Fund team, Keith Gilson, and Eric Back.
Thanks, Kayla. Any questions for 3A, B?
So we'll finally get the entrance off of 600 then? Is that part of this plan?
That's the final phase.
That is correct. Yeah.
So we're voting on this tonight.
Yes.
I probably should not vote since it touches my property.
It's fine. It's
Even
the
though
same.
I have no issue, I just to keep things clean.
All right.
All right. I guess I should disclose that it touches my property as well, but I do have a couple of questions. So there's a bunch of trees along 600 that are proposing to be demolished. Is that correct?
Yes.
50, 60. We just
Keep me going up.
tried really hard to get 300 trees planted in town. Now we're going to knock 60 of them down that are 50 or 60 feet tall. Is there any way to leave those? Doesn't look like the grading gets up there.
Where are we at?
Along 600.
With the south.
Northwest
corner. The northern, yeah. No.
Property line on 600.
I would like to note that it was the request of our street department foreman that those be removed, actually, just to present that side of things.
Okay.
But go ahead.
I would be certainly happy to look at it, to see if we could find out any grading there, but if she said that they were requested to be removed.
I think there's a lot of utilities trying to go through there.
Yeah.
Are you talking about along 600?
Yes.
Okay. And there is a landscaping plan that shows there are trees getting replaced. Of course, it's small trees, but.
I guess my only other comment was that it labels a 4-foot undulating mound that's really not 4 foot tall along the side. It's flat in some areas. I didn't know if there's a way to make it at least 4 foot tall along there, like we show on the. If you go to the last page of the construction plan, we show that.
Okay.
Oh, probably in our
Good.
actual document.
Yeah, on the actual.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll certainly go with that. If it's not fulfilled.
Thanks, Kyle.
So the comments regarding the drainage, everyone was satisfied. Okay, so they have an understanding like visually.
Yes.
I just watch you guys every day.
Yeah.
Well,
And we've had Brett, our new building inspector, has done a great job too. Brett, of course, lives in your subdivision, so he has become the staff liaison there.
Monday, he's out there.
Yep.
everyone is enjoying walking out on the new sidewalks and walking through and looking.
Any new construction since the model? I haven't seen any slides.
How many permits have we issued?
We issued
14 new single-family home permits last month.
In September.
For Carrot Glen.
Well, not just for Carrot Glen, but mostly. I would say 12 of them were in Carrot Glen. So I think it's probably just a matter of days before we start seeing construction out there. And I know we got 2 more, we received 2 more today. So.
And we have gotten emails from future residents of Pendleton who are excited to be moving here. And I have one lady that wants to meet me for coffee just because she's so excited to be here. And I said, okay. So it's been really neat.
You guys have done a fantastic job.
Thank
You are hard. You've done everything the basket did, and so it looks great. The site looks great. The construction process has been great. We appreciate you being part of our community.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
One of the neatest experiences I've got to witness is families out there taking pictures of their future home.
Right.
You know, and I go out there.
A lot of people
shy, so I go out and talk to them and introduce myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just bought the lot or what. It's a neat thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of cool.
It really has been a cool thing. I mean, just this one lady has been emailing me back and forth, and I'm like, bless your heart. She's like, I'm in a 3-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment with 3 kids right now, and is my permit approved yet? And I'm like, yes. It's been sweet. So.
Bikes, and I walked for a while. So once I started walking, I started riding my bike again. My son took me, and I would talk him through the construction.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah.
The infrastructure, so he thought that was neat watching it.
Yeah.
Build up.
Very cool.
So it was cool.
My poor children have to drive through subdivisions all the time and hear. They're like, yeah, Mom, we know.
So this will be constructed as one phase, right? The plat's split, but.
Yes, the plats are split. They're going to try and build it all in one phase. Yeah.
And
if they get, what's that?
I was just going to say, and good job to everyone in this room because
It's turned out to be just a fantastic project.
I mean,
Thank you.
thinking about those first couple meetings, man, they were tough and getting through them. So
Look at the product we got.
It's very nice.
Now they're excited.
How long ago did this start?
Oh goodness, was it May of?
It was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It was at the podium with the laundry list.
Yeah. So congratulations. Thank you.
Well, I mean, her testimony kind of says it all. We got people that's happy enough to email her, want to comment on it, so it's
Yeah.
pretty good. With that said, I'll entertain a motion to accept D.R. Horton Phase 3A and 3B as presented.
I'll second.
Have a motion.
Or I make a motion.
Make a motion.
Yeah, okay, I make a motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Have a roll call, please.
Connie.
Jenny's going to abstain since she's
Okay.
touching the property.
Kyle, are you going to abstain?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay, we got enough. Connie Schultz Heinz.
Aye.
Carol Hanna.
Aye.
Tim Pritchard.
Aye.
Cheryl Ramey Hunt. Very good.
Thank you again.
Thanks, Josh.
Thanks.
Any further comments, Rachel? Or?
I think one of the things
Oh, thank you.
I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about, we are struggling with getting our unified development ordinance wrapped up and done. We are feeling heavy development pressures right now. What are the Plan Commission's thoughts on one thing we've kind of dabbled in a little bit is talking about a moratorium possibly on new builds, just so we can get caught up. We've had a lot of issues in the past 2 years, starting with the tornado. We had an election that really changed a lot of things in town too, with, and then we had some staff transitioning, and we've also had COVID that really have put some undue or unexpected pauses on our work that we've had to do. So I don't know, we are doing the best we can to get caught up again. It's been wonderful getting a new town manager and our building inspector on board. It's really given Kayla and I some time to actually work on some of these projects that we should have had done by now. So anyway, we kind of just wanted to pick your brains about that to see what your thoughts were on maybe halting some things until we can get to where we should be.
Moratorium on growth, as far as building? I guess I'm not.
I think our struggle is the residential piece. I don't think our ordinance is really our current ordinance as it stands is really difficult for us to use. It's from 98. It's very outdated. That's why we were working through the Unified Development Ordinance update so that we could have standards that are more in line with what our community wants to see today, and that are meeting standards of today. I don't know all the details, how that looks. It was just something.
Is that a town council action?
You would make a recommendation.
I would make a recommendation.
It'd have to be a public hearing too. You couldn't do it tonight.
I fully agree, Rachel. I think the growth you have on the books right now is right at 1,000 homes in subdivisions. That's not including the scattered site homes in and about, which I don't think the moratorium would affect a scattered site building permit. It would mainly affect a subdivision of multiple homes. There's a lot going on right now. Like I said, we've got on the books. It's going to tax staff, police, fire, water department, building inspections. Been a lot happening with COVID. It's been a tough year for everybody. It's probably something we need to recommend to take to council at least for 6 months. I would suggest review it after 6 months. See what happens. See where we're at then.
Could always lessen that amount. Also would not apply to anything in the queue. So the MI homes,
Wouldn't be
anything else that's been petitioned for is unaffected.
Anything future.
I think it's good to give time for the UDO update to make sure we get what we want.
Yeah, and then that's going to make everything. I mean, it's going to take the burden off of you.
Well,
Right.
it's a burden on everybody.
Well, and I think it helps the developers to know what our rules are.
It's going to help our commission.
You have a whole new rule book for everybody.
Mm-hmm. But do you think, I mean, do you think 6 months is the right number? I mean, what do you?
You can always change it. So there's no perfect amount. I think it's best generally to have a date certain so you don't just let it go on forever. But
Typically with moratoriums, you have some deadlines, some follow-up that comes back throughout that as far as progress being made.
Yes, I would fully expect as staff that we would have some strict deadlines on our UDO to make sure we have it, that we use that time mindfully, so it doesn't get pushed out. I kind of cringe a little bit about this discussion we're having anyway. I hate to slow anything down. I do you know what I mean? There's part of me that thinks this is great, and part of me is like, are there unintended consequences of this? I do know we've been very behind staff-wise on getting this UDO going, and we need to get it wrapped up, and it's really hard for us to get it done when we're having new stuff come in so fast. There's only the two of us doing reviews, and once we get the UDO passed, we're going to have more of a team fleshed out to help us do our jobs better.
I think they're going to need 6 months. I don't think 3 months will give them ample time to get what they need to do to get it done.
I think 6 months is reasonable.
6 months, if they're not there in 6, we can make it 9, 12. If they're ready to go in 6 months, we're not wearing masks anymore. People are back to normal. We ever get there?
I'll be one of those. So.
Right. I wholeheartedly agree. I think we'll entertain a motion to push it up to the council.
you will have to have a public hearing with this body. It had been discussed a little bit amongst staff about the possibility of a special meeting on the 21st. It would be a public hearing, so it wouldn't necessarily be super short, but it could be done. You could appear via virtually, but that was just an early date that was thrown out. Obviously, it's up to the commission. That's a Wednesday.
Cheryl Ramey Hunt chimed in. She says she agrees with the recommendation for a moratorium. Can we set a time limit for the moratorium? And I told her yes.
We're gonna have a meeting on the 21st.
That was what was originally thrown around, but your quorum is most important.
Oh, you know what? We have our thoroughfare plan steering committee that night. 6 o'clock.
All right, with that said, I'm gonna make a motion to,
Maybe we can reschedule. I think this is a little more pressing than, okay. Thanks, guys.
I'll make a motion to have a special meeting, public hearing on the 21st to address the proposed moratorium on any future building updates or plans. So we can vote to take that to council, which will be their November meeting.
Take it 7 o'clock, Tim.
7 o'clock. That'll be a public notice, Jeff.
Yes, we'll get that out.
That'll be publicly noticed. Advertised. Wow, we can't wait to get a mask off. It's tight in my brain.
Agreed.
Okay. With that said, I made a motion to have a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Connie. Have a roll call vote.
Yes, Connie Schultz-Heinz.
Aye.
Carol Hanna.
Aye.
Kyle Eichhorn.
Aye.
Tim Pritchard.
Aye.
Jenny Sisson.
Aye.
Cheryl Ramey Hunt. She gives a thumbs up.
Thank you. Motion carried. Please note, board meeting on the 21st.
Maybe we can approve this minutes.
Yeah, that would be a possibility. Sure.
Also, we can look at the minutes.
Yes.
Yep. We send out tonight.
Thirdly, would it be possible if there's a findings on the mailing list, could that be addressed there as well?
Yes, we know that really quickly. We'd have to get our, possibly.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other comments? Audience. Thank you all for attending.
That's 14
Council
days.
government, sorry, it took so long, but.
To the 21st.
Well,
Meeting adjourned.
Don't know what we're doing with the budget. I got the budget adoption.
Yeah, that's 14 days.
well, I was gonna.
I put that down. So we're gonna do the 8th is when we're gonna do the proposal.
We kind of want to have a special meeting anyway at the council to pass it. So it might